Because I'm not sure. No, when I don't count. So we're just waiting for the other members of the committee to show up. There have been some last minute people that couldn't people on the committee that couldn't make it tonight for special various circumstances that came up. So the meeting may have to be canceled. We're not sure. Time will tell. Have a few more minutes. We'll give it 10 minutes. Robert, I'm trying to promote you. There it goes. Welcome.
Hello.
Yep, you're here.
I am here. So I wonder if we're going to get a quorum tonight.
Yep.
Yes, we are, or yes, we're wondering.
Yep, we're wondering.
Yeah, I mean,
my presence doesn't count.
no, I'm aware of that. So it's got to be Nick and Allison, neither of whose phone numbers I have. And since I only got cancellations from everybody today, I did not, I didn't have time in advance to double check.
Hey, let me see if I can reach out to them. So Robert, why don't we give them like 10 minutes and see what happens?
Okay.
I just texted both of them. Oh, I see somebody else has arrived. Who's that? Oh, Allison's having a hard time.
Connecting.
Well, she says the link she had is expired.
I hit the link from the calendar page of the web and it came up right away. So I'm not sure. I've had that problem before. I had that problem on Rob's meeting this weekend and I had to try like 20 times before I got on. Tell her to try the calendar and pull the agenda up from the calendar and click on that.
Oh, there's Nick. I tried promoting him. I made you co-host, by the way.
Okay. I can screen share the agenda anytime.
There he goes. Oh, I forgot that part. Just a sec.
It actually seems to be allowing me to as co-host.
There you go.
My button's on.
Hello, Nick. Looks like the Day of the Dead. Hey, your picture's getting a lot clearer on your camera, but you know, it's way off to your left. There it is. Well, we can't hear you. You're muted on mic. Now you're not. No, now you are. Now you're not. Say something.
Hello,
Yeah, we can hear that.
okay, sounds better?
Yeah, your picture's much clearer than it used to be.
Yeah. I got a new camera.
Oh, uh-huh. Now all we got to do is get you a new microphone.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but it's always seems sort of muffled and distant.
How about now?
You know, the microphone volume usually doesn't change. Is that a Windows machine?
Yeah, this is Windows.
You know, if you go into, oh, there's Allison. Hold on, let me promote her and you guys can start your meeting. If you go into the volume settings, you might be able to adjust the microphone up a little bit, but chances are not by much. Okay, now here comes Allison. All right, so you have a quorum, Robert. You can start anytime you want. Do you want me to help run the meeting, or do you want me to just get out of the way and let you do your thing?
I would love it if you would help because, you know, honestly, it's going to be hard for me to bring up docs and take notes at the same time.
Okay. So
I mean,
why don't
I can try, but
I can work the speaker list and you know, I guess I don't think you need to time speakers, do you?
I'm not worried about time. We never time anybody.
Do we
Okay.
have any attendees?
Yeah, there's 5 people in the audience.
So
Allison,
I'm gonna call this. Yeah. Hey, Nick. Hey, Allison. I'm gonna call this meeting to order. And the time is 7:06. So I'm gonna manually write this down. 7:06 order. And I'm calling roll. If we do that, John Deere, it will not make this. Liz Clay will not make this. Selena will not make this. Nick's here. Allison.
Here.
Okay, so we do have a quorum, 3 of 6. And okay, so this is, oops, stop. Can you guys see my screen?
No.
All right, well, we'll do it the other way then. Old school. Now you can see my screen though, right?
Nope.
Damn it. Oh, that's why, because I didn't hit share.
Makes a difference. There
It
you go.
does. Now, can you see it? Can you see
Yeah.
and you're seeing the agenda?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna try and keep this relatively concise, although we do have a fair amount of stuff here.
Motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes of last meeting. Do we have a second? It's just got to be you two, right?
Second, sorry, I was muted. Yep.
All right. Do we take a vote on that, Jim?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
Do you want me,
roll-
do you want me to keep track of the vote?
I got a pen. I'm just gonna do it old school.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless you want to. Do you want to?
No, it's completely up to you. I mean, I don't mind doing it for you if it helps you. I'm here and I'm just gonna hang out, so I have a
Okay.
paper and a pen.
It's because there's only three of us, you can just call voice,
Yeah, let's just do a quick
vote.
voice. So
Yeah,
all in
gotta be
favor
roll
of
call.
approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. So we have 3-0.
So that Nick made the motion and Allison seconded. And it was 3-0-0.
Correct.
Okay. Got that. Review, comment, adopt minutes from prior meeting. Oh, that's what we just did, right?
Yes.
Okay. Public comment, non-agenda items related to parking and transportation committee only. We have one possible, we have two speakers.
We have two speakers. They're teaming up on you tonight, Robert. Vicky, go ahead.
Thanks. I had spoken with Robert briefly the other day, something I want you guys to put your thinking cap on about. And Jim, I'm glad you're here. It's about this LADOT lot at Rose and Main. The commissioners met. They agreed that they would close it at night, like, as they said, like we do all of our other LADOT lots, which I don't believe is true, that those lots are actually closed. The purpose of closing this one would be to get rid of some of the encampments inside there. Comprehensive cleanups have helped, but they're not all gone. And today there was a little bit of a scare. I rode by on my bike and a guy had an automatic rifle doing target practice across the parking lot. And the police did come, and it was not a real gun, but it was a pellet gun. But we need, it's really gotten dangerous there, and want you guys to put your thinking cap on about, because I don't know other parking lots that well and how they're handled at night. We had asked potentially for this one to be closed for a few months, just fenced up and closed. LADOT is afraid to do that because of the Coastal Commission. They're afraid they'll get in trouble. So chances are nothing's going to happen. They say they'll close it at night, but they'll have to put up gates. Somebody will have to come and close it up, which is probably not going to happen. So I know, Jim, you had done a little bit of research into it. So I just hope that I could plug that into parking and transportation to see if you guys could come up with any solutions.
Okay, thank you, Vicky.
Thank you.
Soledad, go ahead.
Hi everyone, this is Soledad Sua. I live near Bridge Housing, and on Main Street, I have about 40 RVs that are on both sides of the street. What I'm hoping you guys could really take on is to acknowledge the environmental that these RVs are.
Excuse me for 1 second, Soledad. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Robert, can you mute? There's a lot of background noise coming through from your microphone.
My
Go
bad.
ahead, Soledad, I'm sorry.
Hold on 1 sec. Mute.
So going into the environmental degradation that RVs are inflicting on this beachside community, we have oil and chemicals in motorhomes leaking into the streets. We have people who are dumping their RV sewage, and none of our city officials are even acknowledging this problem. And I want to remind you guys that unlike our neighboring city of Santa Monica, we do not have an urban runoff recycling program. So everything in our streets, feces, needles, trash, debris, oil, it ends up in our storm drains, which is pumped into the Pacific Ocean. And, many of us have been to the Rose Avenue storm drain. So we know about this as locals, we avoid it, but the public doesn't. So I really asked you guys to take on the RV issue. I'm not sure that it's legal for RVs to be parked on city streets in LA. So I'm hoping this is something you guys can really take on, just because the environment is so valuable. And, we represent the Pacific Ocean. We host the world, and we need to keep the beach clean for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Soledad.
Okay, so
wait,
before, yeah,
Robert, hang on one second.
wait, no. This is
There-
me.
There's one more caller.
Oh, there is. Okay,
one more,
because
yeah.
we do have, I just want to say that we do have, for Soledad and Vicky both, we do have a representative, and this is intended to be informational, not accusatory. So we're going to keep it as informational. But LaTanya Allen, I believe, is here and is going to speak. I might try bumping her up. so that-
Robert, let me
Yeah.
get through public comment, okay?
Right on. I just wanted to let them know so they didn't just get off the air. Okay,
all right.
very good.
Caller ending in 173. You need to start 9, I believe, to unmute yourself. There you go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Hi, my name's Ruth. I'm an unhoused Angelino, and I just wanted to say in response to the previous comment that unhoused people, we're actually really good for the environment, believe it or not. Like, we don't use electricity or running water or fossil fuels for the most part. I know RV users might put gas in their RVs. We have full-time recycling jobs, and we take bicycles and we walk everywhere. Like, people could stand to live a little bit more like us and a little less like house people. And the storm drains don't go into the Hyperion water treatment plant, which actually dumped 17 million gallons of housed people's raw sewage unfiltered onto the beach. So please consider the hypocrisy of the criticism of unhoused people in the environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's close public comment. I'll leave that up to you, Robert. You're chairing this.
Okay, thank you to all the speakers. Let's move on to the regular schedule now. Regular schedule.
Who was the person that you said was here from the city? I can't hear you. You got to unmute.
My bad. LaTanya Allen of Parking Enforcement was going to be here to explain what's going on with
So let's
the
do
parking.
this real quick. There's 2 people on here. One looks like their name starts with an LT, which might be a lieutenant, and the other one looks like it's an SGT. If either of you people are city employees or public service people, could you raise your hand? Okay. Do we want to promote them, Robert, so you can respect their time tonight? Looks like they both are. Got to unmute, Robert.
Okay, so I see 2 hands raised. More. We are going to rename. Is that how we promote, Jim? Remove?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and promote them to panelists,
Okay, very good.
and we can always demote them later.
Sounds good. So we have 713 appears to be maybe first.
No, I think it's Sergeant James Johnson was promoted, and Lieutenant Cerrito. They're both now panelists.
Okay. So it's
So you'd need to rearrange your agenda to take the item out of order where they were going to be responding to whatever item it was on the agenda.
Yeah, we had item 7 was parking enforcement. People were gonna speak as an informational thing on what's changed, why it's changed, and what the prognosis is for the future, whether the laws are gonna come back or not come back, and
So
all
because
that.
it's an item on the agenda that theoretically you may end up taking a position on, the correct way to do this would be to have the motion made by somebody and then seconded, and then have a presentation made perhaps by the officers to answer the question at hand, and then allow public comment on the item followed by committee discussion before you take a vote on the item.
Okay, we do actually have a possible motion that John wrote on the parking enforcement. Should we read that motion?
Yeah, but can you reduce your screen size a little bit? Everything's getting cut off on the right-hand side. Just hit the minus key or something and it'll go, there you go. A little bit more. One more click and you got it. Perfect.
Okay. Does anyone want to make the motion? Should I make the motion here?
Yeah, Nick, why don't you read the motion? You're good at these readings of motions.
Number 7,
Yes.
whereas Venice community has seen substantial loss of use of sidewalks and roadways and increases in crime due to the cessation of parking enforcement, whereas the COVID-19 emergency is now matured and procedures are in place to control it within the greater Los Angeles area, and whereas parking enforcement should be restored, therefore be it resolved that the VNC requests that existing parking, street camping, and sidewalk clearing laws be enforced in Venice. I'll make the motion.
And is Allison still here? Allison, we need a second.
Sorry, I'm unmuting. Yes, second.
Okay, so now that the motion is on the floor, been made and seconded, perhaps you could have your guest speakers unmute themselves and address what the issues are.
So
They're both unmuted. I don't know who wants to speak first. Is it Sergeant James Johnson or Lieutenant
Serrato.
Serrato? Go ahead, please.
So some of your concerns are having to do with vehicles across the sidewalk. Is that what your
no,
question was?
I think the concerns are that the cessation of the stopping of enforcement of the rules where you can just keep your car or RV in a singular spot for months at a time. And that seems to be creating unsafe conditions in the community. And I think previously there had been laws regarding the time you were allowed to keep a vehicle in one place without moving it.
Correct. The 72-hour law is what you're referring to.
Absolutely.
So that is, it's still being enforced on vehicles parked within the city, but if there's evidence of a dwelling, the mayor has a hold on any impounding of vehicles that show evidence of dwelling.
Mhm.
So it goes beyond parking enforcement. Right now, that's a mayor's restriction that would hold us back from that.
And well, I guess this is, yeah, go ahead.
We can cite the vehicles still, but we cannot impound them.
And do we know if there's any sort of mechanism? Because the understanding I have, which is not very good, but I am in charge of the Park and Transportation Committee, was that this was started as part of the COVID. When COVID started, this was passed in a group with other things. And now that we see COVID and things reopening, I guess a lot of us were anticipating that our streets would be cleaned up again. And so I guess I'm wondering if there's been any talk within the city, if you know, about reinstituting the previous policies.
I know our chief wants to get back into impounding, but we have to wait for direction from the mayor.
Mhm.
So as far as I know, I actually don't know what the mayor's doing right now. I
Okay.
know our chief is for it, but that, like I said, it's beyond our department.
Right.
It's coming from the mayor's office.
That's useful information. So we should maybe talk to somebody from the mayor's office regarding the timing of this stuff. If that's kind of what I'm hearing from you. And we really
Yes.
appreciate what you guys do, by the way. This is, I didn't even know what was going on until I started making some emails and stuff. I just, yeah, and I think we had all heard that they were going to start cleaning up again, but
Right.
doesn't seem like it's happening.
Well, also with the street cleaning now is being enforced every other week. So
Right.
before, when you had weekly street cleaning, that got cut down to every other week.
Unless you got an RV
Twice
and then
in a month,
they drive around, you if you got an RV, right?
Right, exactly. And they could be cited, but we just can't tow them.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, no, I mean,
So can I ask a silly question?
Sure.
Maybe it's not so silly. Is anybody keeping track of how many citations are being handed out on a weekly basis for vehicles that aren't being moved?
Well, there could be, we have a database. Previously, I was in charge of the abandoned units in the valley. And when we get the complaint for the 72-hour violation, our officers were going out, responding and marking the vehicle, or if it was unsafe, they were closing the complaint as a dwelling. So we do have a running log of all the complaints that got closed for dwelling. But that doesn't say that there's a log saying, oh, we didn't cite this in the street cleaning because it's a dwelling. That was only for the 72-hour violations.
Well, so.
And that is, I believe that's citywide.
In some of the neighborhoods, there's signage about not being over height vehicles, and there's signage about not being within a specific area, for instance, around the bridge shelter. And there's signage about street cleaning. And I just wonder if on any kind of frequency, I mean, I would hate to have to complain every 72 hours that car is still parked there. It seems to me that twice a week, if the person started getting 2 tickets a week after a month or so, and they had 10 or 12 tickets on their car, just because the COVID thing gets lifted doesn't mean the tickets are necessarily going to go away. And it might,
and they don't.
Yeah, it might start to show some level of integrity on the part of parking enforcement to actually take the initiative to just regularly go. I mean, marking their tires, I don't believe is going to do any good, because they're going to go out there and wipe it off. So unless you photograph it, and
well, that is part of the process.
Yeah, and so unless there's some way of really documenting it, and I mean, there's some cars that there's a black camper in front of an elementary school on Main Street in Venice. It's been there a year, and I know for a fact LAPD has tried to deal with that on multiple occasions, and they don't give him tickets because he lives in it. And to me, that's like, why not give him tickets? It's that vehicle could be ticketed every day. He's in a school zone and it's parked there. It's posted no parking there from 7 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Can
we let Nick speak too? He's got his hand up.
Absolutely. I'm just curious if there's any way that can be followed up on. And Robert, at some point we want to get to public comment.
Yeah. The point I wanted to make was, in particular, roads in terms of the RVs. The LAPD probably knows you had the RV that burned to the ground about 2 weeks ago. And that particular vehicle not only was immobile, didn't have any tires on the vehicle. And now that space, which is redlined, has been replaced with 2 additional RVs. I guess my question is, what about RVs that are immobile, they're on cinder blocks, they can't move at all? They're obviously encampments. Why can't anything be done about that? I mean, I don't understand why that's ignored.
Because of that directive that we got from the mayor that says any vehicle showing a dwelling, we cannot impound. If it was like in a peak hour zone, there's only certain specific violations that we could tow it for. But even you have to keep in mind, if it's a large RV, we have to call for a special tow truck. It's a heavy duty tow, and we go on a waiting list for that.
Jim's right, we should do public comment. So let's see if there's.
Let me have a follow-up before you go to public comment. Does the chief of police, when he doesn't agree with policy by the mayor, can the chief weigh in and say, we don't agree with what you're suggesting here. We have all these recreational vehicles that are basically housing. I mean, is there a why to why Garcetti's doing what he's doing?
I can't answer that. I don't have an idea of why he's doing what he's doing.
Thank you.
Okay, caller ending in 173, your hand is up. Did you want to speak? Press *9 if you want to. Oh, I'm not sure you're even muted.
Hi, this is Ruth. I'm an unhoused Angelino, and I just wanted to inform you all that in I think 2014, there was a case called Desert Train versus LA, in which it was found unconstitutional, the LAMC that was supposed to ban vehicle dwelling. So it's not illegal to live in your vehicle. And I can't believe that there's a committee meeting and strategizing on how to make homeless people more homeless. When somebody whose RV isn't running gets towed or ticketed, it doesn't help them go away. It might help them be less sheltered and appear in a tent or on a sidewalk, and that's not better for anyone, especially them. Why don't you guys strategize to help them get repairs if needed, or to the one outside the school? There might be a student of the school living in that RV. There's more homeless students than there is homeless adults in LA, and that was proven by UCLA. And I was a homeless student myself. So please consider the needs of the people that you're strategizing to displace. Thank you.
Thank you. Who is this? Soledad, you have your hand up. Go ahead, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to thank that unhoused neighbor for giving comment. I do not believe that she is an actual stakeholder of Venice Beach. One of the things we've debated about here on the VNC is just, who do we represent? Do we represent our stakeholders, or do we represent the entire public? One thing I've noticed, just as somebody who lives near bridge housing with about, 40 different RVs parked on different sides of Main Street, we've seen that CDC guidelines has been improperly used. It's what all of our elected officials are using to simply throw their hands up and absolve themselves of any responsibility. It seems that, throughout COVID, as long as COVID goes on, our elected officials cannot enforce any of the laws that we have. So again, thank you.
Thank you, Soledad. Erica Moore, you have your hand up. You may speak. You have to unmute yourself.
Hi there. I apologize, but I just want you to know I'm having issues with your link from my phone. I don't know why, but I missed the beginning of the meeting because it wouldn't work. And I can't pull up the agenda on it either. So I'm not sure why there was only a link offered on the calendar. There should have been one on the regular homepage. It was really strange. I've never had this problem ever before. So can you please check into that? I apologize to have to use this format to tell you that. But I just got in, so I'm not even sure where you are on the agenda.
Oh, yeah, that's real easy. We'll check into that. We're took things out of order. We're on item number 7, parking enforcement, and we have 2 officers here from LADOT, and this is the public comment period about that motion that's on the floor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other hands up. So I guess, Robert, you want to close public comment, unmute yourself?
We're going to close public comment right now. Thank you, both Ruth and Soledad. And do we have, I know we already made a few comments, maybe out of turn there. Questions. Do we have board comment? Nick, Allison, do you have anything you want to add to this? I see Jim's hand up.
So I would just say that based on what the officer said about that they can ticket, but they can't impound, it seems to me that we ought to be asking for as much ticketing as possible. I did hear the public comment that the woman felt that that would be displacing the homeless, but I would just like to point out that there are safe parking sites that the city has set up throughout the city. And they actually do offer the various humanitarian fundamental necessities like restrooms and hot and cold running water and places that RVs can actually connect their sewage disposal up to, and electricity. All of these things are being offered at these safe camping sites, these safe RV parks. And it's surprising to me that we're not doing more to try and help these people by motivating them to go there. Now, maybe one of the things we need to do is make up a map or a list of where the sites are, and go around and hand them out at the RVs, and then let the police officers or the parking enforcement officers that also go out and mark the tires, let them also hand out where these safe parking campsites are. And maybe that would help motivate them to move off the street.
I'll hop in, Jim. Additional to that, my understanding is that LAPD doesn't work in a vacuum, that there are a lot of collaboration with services and outreach, and that a lot of that information has probably been extended to, for instance, a van that's been parked in the same place for a year by the school. As we make hypothetical, or as we discourage ourselves from making hypothetical assumptions about the stories of those living in the vans, and thank you so much for your comments, let's also discourage ourselves from thinking that there's just heavy policing happening and nothing else. So I think given the constraints of the Parking and Transportation Committee, we can encourage this one avenue for enforcement, knowing that there is a lot else going on without sort of cracking open the entire conversation of what's happening. So, I mean, I think as it stands, encouraging parking enforcement is not so outside the bounds of what makes sense that we can't support it.
Nick, your hand's up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say regarding the motion, we're not saying who it's being sent to. So obviously it needs to be sent to Mayor Garcetti and CD 11.
Well,
I'll ask the chairman to move the question.
it could also, though, be sent to whoever the director or I don't know what they call the person that is in charge of LADOT parking enforcement. I mean, there's got to be somebody at the top of that ladder as well, and they would certainly need to be CC'd. I don't know if they have a commission. Do either of you officers know, is there a commission of LADOT for parking enforcement, or is it a board?
We have a general manager, we have our unions. We also work with the city council.
So you don't actually have a board or a commission, I don't think.
But
Not like LAPD does.
Okay.
if it's the mayor that's preventing the enforcement of the traffic guidelines, then the mayor should be the one that we should be emphasizing here in terms of getting this motion to resolve.
But don't you think that that's a longer range goal, and perhaps a shorter range goal is to just see if we can't get them to start ticketing as frequently as possible?
Look,
I think that's a separate, I mean, we have a motion on the floor, and rather than, rewriting the motion on the floor, I think we should address the motion on the floor, and then ticketing could be a different motion for a different day, but we do have a motion on the floor, and Nick, I cut you off, sorry, but
That's fine. Call the question, Robert.
so if board comment is done, I'm going to call a vote on item 7 and the motion to reinstitute parking enforcement. And I think this should be sent to, as Nick said, the mayor's office and the city council for sure. And appreciate Sergeant Johnson and Lieutenant Serrato. I believe it was Serrato who spoke. Thank you for your information. Again, most of us are in the dark on this stuff, so you got to realize we're coming from a little bit of a place of ignorance as to why things are the way they are.
So Robert,
So-
you need to do a roll call vote.
A roll call vote. Nick,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
and myself, I'll vote yes. So we've got 3-0-0. Thank you both for attending the meeting. Okay, I'm going to say that we aren't really taking things out of order because 5 and 6 were both old items where there was nothing to do this meeting. Oh, hey, Sergeant James Johnson has his hand up. Should we unmute him and let him speak?
Sure,
Or
I think he can unmute himself. He's a panelist.
then please jump in there.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Sure can.
absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to kind of piggyback off of my lieutenant. We in our department, our hands are kind of tied too, because you're dealing with a lot of unhoused individuals in these vehicles that are parked on the streets. And it's not just in Venice, it's all over the city. We can put tickets on those vehicles, but it will not give them the incentive to move. A lot of those vehicles have, expired tags that's been expired for over a year. And they're in the situation, I guess, that they unfortunately they can't get out of. And, until the mayor decides to, maybe, be a little bit harder on this particular situation,
Do his job.
it's really not much that we can do. I mean, we have put tickets on these vehicles, and unfortunately, they're not moving. So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, we'd have the safe parking, and the people who needed to get to the safe parking would be given the help they needed at the safe parking. And I think some of that's available, probably not enough is my guess. I'm, again, not an expert at any of this. The young lady who called in, I hope she gets the, what she's looking for. I don't think the campers in residential neighborhoods and in front of businesses and stuff like that is the ultimate answer. And I'm afraid without some change in the policy that happens right now, we seem to be stuck in sort of an unending cycle of this. And I understand some people get help, but it just fills right back up again. And right now, it seems to be getting worse, not better. And you see where we're coming from, right?
Oh, absolutely. I can see where you're coming from. This is the issue that we deal with on a regular basis. So, I wish we had an answer for you, but it's above us.
Yeah, we get it. I'm sure it's no fun for you guys. Honestly, I think we're pretty compassionate here in Venice. I think we've been pretty compassionate, and, you know, it's tough, you know, we've got kids, we got trying to bring kids to school. It's not, you know, for every nice person there is in an RV, we've also got some crazies and some drug dealing and all of that stuff going on, and worse than that. And it's not a good environment, you know? Anyways, Nick, you got your hand up? Maybe try and wrap this up.
Yeah, what I wanted just to throw out as an idea is, has LAPD ever thought about booting these RVs? In other words, if they won't leave, if you boot them, then at some point they have to take action to get the boot off. That's just a general question to the officer.
At this time, we're not booting vehicles. Our booting department has kind of been put on hold. So all we could do right now is just give the citations. And that was for the mayor also.
Okay, we voted and everything, and thank you both for coming again, Lieutenant Serrato and Sergeant Johnson, and good luck with what you're doing. I know it's not an easy job. And let's move on to the next issue, but yeah, okay.
Okay, we're gonna leave the meeting for you.
Bye, guys. Thanks a lot.
Okay, have a good night. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Okay. Jim, I believe, can you see if we have a caller? Could you raise your hand? If you're here for the Mildred Ave red zone and you're waiting, Alex Walker, with, just in order to respect the time on that.
There's Andrew Walker raised his hand.
Okay, so he's number 9. I'd like to take these out of order.
Yeah,
Just
go ahead
so-
and read the motion and then go through the same routine again. Get it first, so you get a maker and then a seconder, and then
Well, my only motion is to switch items 8 and 9. Do we need to do that? Or can I just do that as the
yeah,
president?
no, you as chair can just do that. That's fine.
Okay, and then,
But to start the item off, you need to make a motion.
so it's not written down here. From what I understand, the motion is, whereas there is a we do have a motion.
You do?
He's got it on, so this got written on 8. Okay, so we'll make a motion. Motion is to send a letter to DOT and BOE to request the removal of parking spaces on the north side of Mildred Ave at Ocean. Whereas the intersection at Mildred Ave and Ocean is narrow and heavily used, we are requesting the removal of 3 parking spaces and the corresponding increase of the red zone on the north side of Mildred at Ocean. I believe that's adjacent to the church building at Venice, that corners Venice and Ocean.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. the
Robert,
motion.
you can't, you're the chair.
I'll second.
I won't second it then.
Thank you, Allison.
Okay, let's have Andrew introduce this.
Do you want to, Robert, do you have access to the internet so you could maybe bring it up on Google so everybody could see the intersection you're referring to?
Yeah,
You
can
want
we
me-
allow Andrew to screen share? He shared a
Sure, if he has a presentation.
he shared a presentation with me. I think it would be better if he did it than I did it.
So let's promote him. And then I'm promoting him. Once he's there, now he's promoted. Andrew, you've been promoted. So do you know how to screen share out, Andrew? You go down to the bottom of your screen, there's a little green arrow you click on, and then if you have your other window open, where it shows where whatever your presentation is, if you already have that open someplace else on your desktop, then you click on that little green button in the bottom of the Zoom, and you click on the image of the screen you want to share, and then you click the share button. Now you're muted. That wasn't it. Andrew, you have to unmute if you want us to hear you. There you go.
Not sure how to screen share though.
Okay, do you have whatever it is you want to show currently open on your desktop someplace?
Yes.
Okay, now at the bottom of the Zoom, usually it's at the bottom anyway, there's a green arrow. So move your cursor down to the very bottom edge of the Zoom call window. And as you hover over, there you go. There you go, perfect. You got it. Okay, make your presentation. You're an expert at this already.
This is all about the intersection that's pictured and the proposed no parking north side of Mildred Avenue in the red box indicates where we would like to have the red zone. Currently, the red curb zone is approximately 42 feet long, and we'd like to extend it an additional 90 feet. So it will extend from Ocean Avenue to, it looks like a two-car garage, which is on the east end of the red line or the red curb. It's been defined as Mr. Kim's former bodega across the street. And at the front of the bodega or Mr. Kim's former store, there's a green parking curb that's limited to 15 minutes. If you go farther east from that green zone on the green curb zone, there's space for 2 automobiles to park on that side of the street or the south side of Mildred Avenue. Currently, what happens is Mildred Avenue is being used as a through street, an express route, if you will, by many different people, many commercial carriers and share groups and so forth from Washington Avenue to Venice Boulevard. And anybody who has been at the Venice or at this intersection, the Mildred Avenue, Ocean Avenue intersection, realizes how close that intersection is to Venice Boulevard. I don't know how wide Ocean Avenue is at that point, but it definitely is a congestion point. Also notice that on Mildred Avenue, there's a bicycle path as part of the roadway in both directions. And in the morning or anytime there's a rush hour or heavy tourist traffic and so forth, the traffic just bunches up at the intersection of Mildred and Ocean. And the reason it bunches up is that there can be basically gridlock because cars can't pass on Mildred Avenue because cars can be parked on both sides of Mildred Avenue currently. And that's why removing or increasing the red zone, the red curb zone to a no parking zone, that's about 100 and, what would that be? 130 feet long instead of its current length of about 42 feet. Alleviate the problem because then cars could pass right at the intersection to alleviate the gridlock. And really what we would like is to have the neighborhood council support doing this. And if any of you know of a personal contact at the LA Department of Transportation that we could talk to expedite this situation, that would be wonderful.
Okay, that's your presentation? Thank you, Andrew. Do me a favor, don't go away. Robert, do you want to open public comment?
Yeah, public comment is open.
So anybody that wants to speak should raise their hand. Let's give anybody that wants to speak a minute or two. Erica, you want to go ahead and start? You're unmuted.
Hi, yeah, I definitely have something to say about this particular location. The fact that there is, I'm trying to get the Google Maps Street View up so I could look at it in a better way, but that little bodega that was there, I know it's vacant right now, it's for sale, but eventually it's gonna be inhabited and it's for the neighborhood. It's gonna be a store or a cafe or something. And I think to take away more parking, which is right across from that, is not a good idea. I think that's not, I don't think that's good. I think that you have to consider that you have that independent living right there, and then you've got this pod share, which is a huge influx of people, and that's probably one of the things that's impacting that section. And I don't think that it's going to be attractive for someone to come in and take over that space, that retail space that's been vacant forever. Not forever, but I'm exaggerating, obviously, but it's not going to be attractive for there to be less parking. I mean, people should be able to pull up, go in and buy something or whatever, and then, you know, move on so the next person can come. I don't know, I really think it's something to look at. I think that really needs to be looked at.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna see if I can bring it up here in Google so we can get another view of it. There we go. Let's see if I can share my screen. Oh, somebody else already did. Great. Who shared their screen?
It's us. And we'll give you one more view really quickly. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's directly across from that little commercial space, which has very little parking to begin with.
That's actually incorrect. The streets in the surrounding area have ample parking. This would cost 3 spaces in an area where, and I don't know if you can see my cursor, but there's plenty of parking along Venice Boulevard, and there's also a lot of parking in the neighborhood on Beach and Mildred further in.
I'm telling you that I know that space, and if you go to it, people, I just know from even from where my store is, people don't want to park around the corner to come to the store. They're just gonna go past it and go somewhere else.
We'd love
Okay.
to Tasuki get permitted for something a little bit bigger than what it was. Unfortunately, we voted that out, so Tasuki had to leave. But it would be nice to have a spot there. I think this is more of a concern for the safety of the cyclists who are commuting from the beach path up Mildred to connect into the marina. And this is how they all come in. And unfortunately, because of the volume of cars and the way that pinch point works, it makes it a little scary on a bike.
Have they done a traffic study on if there have been accidents and how many there have? I mean, obviously we don't want bicyclists to be at risk either. I mean, we need it to work for everybody. Is there some data on that, on the accidents and things like that for us to know about?
We don't have the funding for a traffic study at this point. We're just using common sense living around the corner from this and riding through that area, 5, 6, 7.
I mean, I understand. I just,
Are there any other public comments with their hands up here? Eric, I'm gonna lower your hand for you.
Okay, thank you.
There is somebody, 173, the caller ending in 173. Did you want to speak on this item?
Hi, I'm sorry, but my stakeholder status was called into question, and I did just want to clarify that I have been unhoused in Venice, and I am currently unsheltered and unhoused, and I did actually call the shelter line.
We're on to another.
Yeah, I know, but
we're on to another agenda item.
And she doesn't let us talk for ourselves. She writes articles about
You're off,
homelessness, and
excuse
she
me, you're
doesn't
off topic. I'm gonna mute you now. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have anybody else who wants to speak?
No, there's no
on the
other
issue?
hands. There's no other hands up.
So shall we shift this to board comment?
Yeah, close public comment and
Close public comment. Let's have committee comment on this. Allison or Nick, or Jim, do you have any comment?
Well, my question is, we heard Andrew speak, but I'm wondering, before this goes before the board, it seems to me that there needs to be a larger coalition of some sort, of a greater outreach. When we talk about a speed bump, which, you know, is sort of a mundane kind of thing to have installed on a street. We're talking about 66% of the people on the block have to weigh in on it, and want it. It needs to be a positive thing for that many people. You know, if we're talking about a construction project, we're talking about a 500-foot radius. Here we're talking about, you know, it affecting, as Ms. Moore said in the public comment, there's a commercial business directly across the street. We haven't heard from them. I don't know how much outreach, Robert, you did or Andrew did to bring this item before the committee, but it seems to me that before you take it forward to the board, you need to have a certain amount of outreach on something that could have a potential impact. You know, I am very familiar with that intersection. I've spent a lot of time in the area, and I know that although there is parking on Venice Boulevard, it's not in that first block. That whole block is all red. And so that's where the you know, like the front of the old church property there, that's where the bus stop is, and there's no parking on the opposite side because that's where the library is. I'm concerned that there hasn't been any outreach, and that, you know, removing public parking spaces is something that the Coastal Commission frowns very heavily on. And to take a public parking space off the street is actually something that requires a coastal development permit. It has to go through LADOT. So before we make that kind of request, and Andrew, to answer your question, the VNC does have very good ties with people in the transportation department, and things like this can be expedited if there's actually a serious safety risk here, but there hasn't been any outreach, at least not any that's being presented tonight. And so I kind of feel like that's something that needs to happen before it comes before the larger audience of the full board. I'll just say I'm not opposed to removing the parking spaces if it's something that the community wants to do.
Nick, Allison, you guys,
Yeah, I'm on the same page, Jim. I've actually watched this intersection, not certainly as closely as you have, Andrew, but I can see both sides. I also think sometimes encouraging cut through traffic can have, you know, problems down the road, literally down the road. And it just is something I think we need to look at more holistically. I'd love some more information here.
so if I can take the floor for a sec, yeah, I know the corner really well too. In a previous lifetime, I represented the Tezuki Market across the street, no longer working for them, just for full disclosure, so that there's no conflict of interest. But several years ago I did, so I know the corner quite well. And I do agree that that corner is problematic from a traffic perspective. Trying to take a left there forces traffic to back up on Ocean, and then that creates a situation where you get cars swinging around other cars, and it's sort of a little bit of a game of chicken to try and make that left-hand turn. And especially at peak hours where there is only room for one car to fit through at a time. It's not a good situation. So I'm not unsympathetic to the request, but I do agree. I think we should punt this, not because we don't support it, or not because, we possibly wouldn't support it, but because, like Jim said, I think that there needs to be some sort of outreach, and I could certainly provide the contact information for the sellers of the property, at least across there. And then I believe that I have contacts to the people working on the church property right now too. Now, I don't think the impact there is as bad, because I believe from the presentations they did, their proposed parking is going to be all the way around the other side on what is that, Washington Way or whatever that's called on the other side. So I don't see that as being as much of an issue, but with respect to these people, I think that they should be contacted and have an opportunity to weigh in on, I see a hand going up here. to weigh in on this, and maybe what we could do is forward this, or is that Nick? Got a lot of hands. Hey, God, I didn't know I said anything so controversial.
I'll make a motion to postpone.
I'm muting.
Nick, before you do, let me make a suggestion, Robert. There's some basic standards that you probably want to have questioned, and start to bring DOT into the conversation. So part of the process at this point really should be for Andrew to go out and get signatures of people in the neighborhood that agree with his position. And he needs to canvass, both the commercial as well as the development project where the church is being proposed, and also the neighbors around that general area. But at the same time, the committee could make a request to LADOT. The street width is a very substandard width street. That's why there's no stripe down the center of it. And the distance to the corner, when they mark a red curb for a stop sign, the normal distance is always 45 feet. And I believe that's what Andrew happened to mention was the amount of red curb that's currently there. So based on the size of the street and the red curb that's there, those would be very normal conditions. What may not be normal is the amount of traffic. And they could do a traffic count that would allow them to start to look at what are the other options within their standards manual can they do without having to have any kind of special hearing or something. So if they want to start just arbitrarily taking parking spaces off the street, they're going to have to file coastal development permits to reduce public parking. But if there are other circumstances that have to do with, let's say, a high level of traffic on a narrow street, and for safety purposes, to increase red curb, they may not have to go through a much more lengthy process. And so by getting them involved early on, maybe while Andrew's collecting signatures, then regrouping in a month or so, that might be a better solution than just pushing it off and not taking any positive action with the city at this point, because we do have the clout to try and help this process along and see where it goes.
Based on Jim's comments and the prior comments, I'll make a motion to postpone this motion.
And Robert, as chair, if you want the contacts for these people, I'm more than happy to share them with you, because I have them all from when I was doing what you're doing.
We need a second, either Allison or myself, to second this.
Yeah. Robert, you can't.
I'll second.
That's a problem then, right?
Yeah.
By nature, chairman should never make a motion or second a motion.
So now you want to just take the vote. Roll call, Robert.
Okay, roll call vote. Nick,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
and I'm gonna vote yes too. And Andrew, I'm gonna follow up with you with some contact information for the neighboring properties. And we do fully understand the situation, and but we do need to respect the property owners. So we'll follow up with an email after this, okay?
And Robert, I'll share some DOT contacts and council office contacts that might be able to help things along too.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Andrew. Thank you for coming and putting forward the effort in the community. That's great.
We look forward to helping and you helping us.
Absolutely. So now you're back to your original agenda, Robert.
Right. So okay, in the interest of trying to get this, well, so what we have now is we've got one that I consider more of a working session, which is to kind of take a broad look at the community plan with the specifically to the items that are parking and transportation with related, and And ideally, maybe a couple meetings down the road, get some sort of suggested position piece in front of the VNC. To that, first of all, Nick and Allison, are you guys up for this?
I did my
Okay.
homework,
You did your homework.
but I
All
feel like
right.
we're missing, I'm up for it, but as we miss board members, we're gonna be missing part of the story too,
I
right?
hate that. I hate that.
No.
You know what? So maybe what we could do is, what I did was I redlined, I highlight the actual document. We could fly through the pages. There's really a couple of sort of concentrated areas where they talk about parking and transportation.
Mm.
And maybe we could just start and then get them in on it next meeting, or we could forward it too. If you guys feel more comfortable forwarding it, I'm certainly in no hurry. And then we have 2 possible rack motions too, which honestly, we could forward those also. I mean, it's not the end of the world. What do you guys want to do?
I think it's a better idea to do this with the full board, because I want to hear what John has to say and and others. I forgot, the other member, I forgot it, Selena, and what she has to say. So why don't we can move this to the next meeting, gives people a little bit more time to look at the documentation, and then we can move forward after that.
Do you want to make that motion to postpone this then, Nick?
Well,
But before you do, let me just make a quick mention. Remember, the meeting's being recorded. And if we mark the time now of where we are in the meeting, and it's about 8 minutes after 8. If you had a discussion and if you started to go into it, they could very quickly and easily see what had been said. As long as you're not taking any action at this point, it would sort of start the conversation going. It wouldn't finish the conversation, but it would get things off the ground. And as far as the rack motions, I believe there's deadlines on those, so you want to act on those.
what about this then? Robert, why don't you set? the
Why don't we take
tone?
10 minutes on this, Nick?
Yeah, I
And-
think that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, I'm gonna screen share again, and I'm gonna bring up the community plan. And I'm gonna move pretty fast on this, if that's okay with everybody.
The faster the better.
It's well spoken, Nick. Okey doke. So I'm gonna speed through here. So we've got a community plan. This is about, I think it's about 60 to 70 pages. We have some documents that are quoted at the beginning. One of the first ones is a mobility plan. I'm a little bit familiar with that, but there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff here about Venice history that doesn't have much to do with transportation. Why did I highlight this? Lack of adequate parking. There you go. So I did highlight, I can share the highlight document with you guys afterwards. So I just pinged everything that talked about streets or talked about parking. Okay. This was more of an infrastructure thing. Maybe that didn't need to be pinged. Private, some of these things I think we're going to look and we're going to go, is this really an issue anymore? So like private residential encroachments into public right of ways, that seems to be a rarity this day and age. Maybe 20 years ago, it happened a little more.
Well, one of the big areas where that exists is on all the walk streets.
Okay. But I'm going to keep rolling on this.
Yeah.
'cause
No,
that's-
I'm not saying
yeah.
it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that it does exist.
So here they're talking about Lincoln Boulevard, visual identity, lack of adequate parking.
Well, that was pre.
Jim,
No,
Jim.
but it's an important thing to realize that there's a Lincoln corridor specific plan.
We all were on those meetings. Thanks.
Okay.
All right. Let me just fly. Okay. Because
Okay,
this is,
fine.
yeah. They talk about establishing street identities. And now this was kind of interesting because this came up several points in the document where it seemed to be that the desire, again, I'm going to say 20-ish years ago, was that there was sort of entering Venice, which I've thought about before too, an entering Venice thing. So you knew when you were coming down Venice or Washington, or maybe on Lincoln, that you knew you were coming into Venice, say from Mar Vista or Culver City or Santa Monica or Playa. So this was mentioned several times, that there'd be some way of demarking that you're actually in Venice. And to my knowledge, this never was accomplished. Some of the stuff in this, I think, has been accomplished, but some things seem like they are still open, and whether or not we want to pursue them or keep them is maybe a good discussion point. Potential mixed use. So we've all seen mixed use happening, reduced traffic circulation. These were, by the way, goals. Promote commercial areas on Abbot Kinney. That seems to have happened. Beach-oriented visitor serving activities, coastal dement. That sort of seems to be happening. Transportation issues. This is a really good one for everybody to read. I think some of these have been addressed. Some may not be issues anymore, and then some continue to be issues. Opportunities. I thought that a lot of these were pretty good. It'd be good to re-review these and see if these are still, our priorities as a board and as a community. And so skip rec and open space. Why did I have this on here? Canals. Maybe I didn't need to put that on there. Maybe I thought that was a street. Okay, stats. We're gonna fly through stats. They're all interesting though. It's all demographics on Venice. This says that the community plan needs to have a circulation element, which I thought was, so we got our foot in the door, guys. Fly through here. Balanced transportation systems, public, private, yada, yada, yada. We're supposed to kind of look
Robert,
at
can you
everything.
scroll, excuse me for interrupting. There's a meeting tomorrow that I want to get that. Can you scroll back up to the circulation thing? What's that state law number?
That.
Right there, hold it.
Yeah.
5300. And
then there's something about a city charter section 96.5. So I'm going to keep moving though, Jim, you got that. This all describes what the community plan is in sort of a broader scale. It's not specific to Venice. So now we're into chapter 3. So this is going to be the heavy one. If you read 1 and not any of the others, chapter 3 definitely has a couple of transportation sections in it. It's supposed to promote stability and sort of a balanced life between, residential uses and infrastructure and livability. That's sort of the goal. More stats. Talk here about reducing congestion by having proximity to services and facilities. You know what we do about that. There's a few sort of miscellaneous points there. But then we get into some bigger ones here. That's talking about, this is all talking about pedestrian-oriented communities, which I find interesting and something I would certainly personally support. Not sure exactly what that means. General commercial. Where's the transportation part? So we have program. Pedestrian-oriented districts. So this is all pedestrian-oriented stuff. Industrial stuff seemed very outdated to me. We really don't have much of an industrial, unless you can consider software development as part of the industrial core of Venice. I think that most of that stuff seemed a little bygone to me. Okay. Flying through here, guys. All right, so transportation. So here's the biggie. This is chapter 3, pages 21 and stuff. So this is definitely worth reading. To talk about traffic improvement mitigation program, it really sort of addresses everything from maintenance of streets, and really stuff like the previous speaker was just talking about, for sort of a livable community, and everything from access to bus routes, which of course Jim's been very concerned with. So that they call that a TIMP, I think it is the abbreviation. And shuttle service, Jim, they talked about your shuttle service a bunch of times in here, is in the thing, right? You're supposed to get a city ride and a LA dot and smart shuttles and all of that. There's also mention of a non-vehicular transportation. So I guess they, you know, the things that are coming up right now with the Oceanfront Walk Committee sort of are loosely tied to this as well, now that we have electric bikes and scooters and stuff. But they talk about, mostly they talk about physical bikes in this one and improving the bikeways. That's probably all in this stuff somewhere. Non-motorized, there you go. So that's what I was talking about. So it's all the non-motorized again. Yeah, rights of way, bicycles, pedestrians, blah, 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 blah. It talks about the development of parking facilities. In my mind, when I read this, it reminded me of sort of what 3rd Street Santa Monica did with building the big centralized parking facilities. I don't see where you're going to do that in Venice. I mean, there's the Bridge House lot would have been a possibility for something like that. That's probably water under the Bridge House at this point. No smiles. I thought that was a good one.
I was muted, but I really like that. Thank you.
Yeah, that was good, right? And then, you know, there's the median lots where Jim's got his stuff. There's, you know, maybe a couple of spots. I remember Don from Howell's talked about trying to do a parking structure behind Abbott Kinney. It seemed complicated because of the width. So I'm not really sure that.
I have a highlight there for you would be beach parking. Would be a way that we could add parking density.
Beach parking is always good, right? In what way?
Well, you were saying adding parking density, like there's opportunities to make parking structures to get some of the beach parking closer to the beach parking lots.
Again, you know, the median one, both the median lots seem like they would have been possibilities. You know, the one that they're planning the what is it? No longer the Reese Davidson, because I think they're going to change the name on that. That seemed like one possibility for additional parking, as did the library, you know, the lots by the library and stuff. But again, I don't know if that's a community priority, is to have a bunch of big parking lots everywhere. They're not the prettiest thing in the world. And who knows, you know, again, I'm not really a proponent of one or the other. I'm just trying to read what
No,
was
I
in this
understand.
old
I'm
plan.
reading, what I'm reading into it too is the public space that is in my section following. And you know, there are sometimes opportunities to, like, you know, put 4 stories of parking and then you get a park in the other space, you know, like you can kind of create opportunities and getting the neighborhoods are so impacted right now by beach parking. And if the residents could get some permitted parking when there's adequate beach parking, that would be a benefit to the community as well.
Yeah. So let me keep rolling. I mean, these are all discussions that I think we will have more in depth when we've got the full, when we have John, you know, and maybe we need to devote an entire meeting, you know, to sort of this with, you know, figure it's going to be a solid hour of this stuff. Again, I'd like to keep all these meetings to about 2 hours, you know, and I'd like to check out by 9. I don't mean to be rude or terse on any of this stuff. If it needs to be longer, it needs to be longer, but you know, this is a voluntary committee, and I would like to update this stuff because I do find some of it seems to be somewhat archaic, and we do have new issues. And so again, so that's what a lot of this stuff is talking about. I frankly also with the parking and a lot of this stuff's talking about like beautification of parking structures and parking lots in a dense area like Venice. And having been one on Abercrombie for many years, I always felt that sort of the planted ways adjacent to the parking lots there do we really need like a planted parking buffer, or would we just prefer more spaces there? I mean, this is an urban environment. Seems more like a suburban kind of mini mallish sort of ideology of parking to me, but again, to be discussed, maybe it's a good idea. But I always thought those were sort of a waste of space and poorly maintained.
Yeah, but, you know, Robert, just because you're on that topic, let me say, you know, you have gone through so many items here, starting from, you don't notice any gateway to Venice, but this document was written after I planted the trees on Venice Boulevard, and the land,
Which we love.
and the land
Yes.
use plan then adopted the tree planting as the ceremonial gateway to Venice Beach. So, and then you look at the parking lot where the farmer's market is, you could not add a third row of parking or one more row of parking, but you were able to add landscaping. So having the same thing is true on Electric, where all of those parking lots are. I mean, you're just making some huge statements, and you know, there actually is a tremendous benefit to landscaping. You don't have that, for instance, at the lot at Rose and Main, which is not a legal parking lot under the city's standards as being a parking lot, nor was a coastal development permit ever pulled to create it. That was just something that somebody threw out there. So, I mean, you know, take it one piece at a time.
One piece at a time. Got it. Okay. This is all again, parking as you know, this was the previous speaker right here. This has got cut throughs, you know, he's talking about cut throughs, speed bumps. There were certain specific things that were suggested in here, and maybe we should think about some of those. I think one of them was like a designated left-hand turn arrow at Rose. I noticed that a lot of these hadn't actually ever happened. But there was, they did actually have specific implementation type stuff, signalization, yada, 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 yada. So we could look at some of that stuff too. I highlight this, freeways and street improvements. The only thing I could think of that was really applicable, because we don't really have a freeway, but we have Venice Boulevard. Don't jump on me, Jim. I know what I'm talking about. We've got Venice Boulevard, which is highway, whatever. And there is currently sort of the strip along there that might apply in here. That's quasi public private. And we could take a position sort of as to whether we see that as, you know, an extension of the private lots, which seems to slowly be happening, or if there was a broadband thing like, you know, a para course or something, you know, along there, maybe, you know, I don't know what, anyways. So residential neighborhood protection. Here's all these provide an exclusive left. This is what I was talking about. So this is like provide additional northbound and left-hand turns and all of that, that were more specific than policy things. So it's actually a little surprised to see them in here, because I would expect those to sort of follow up. But and then there were things on the street widening too. I saw actually in here conflicting stuff, both arguing for the mobility plan and the widening of streets, and then there's specifically in here that the narrow streets are part of the Venice character, and so the street widening stuff is in here as well, and maybe we want to relook at where that's written. And bye guys. And then the last thing on here that I saw was in the list of historic stuff. We have the Windward Ave Historic Arcade District, and that right now is up for grabs as a pedestrian way. And there are several areas along Oceanfront Walk where they're considering sort of pedestrian only, Windward being one of them. And again, you know, maybe this is a document that we kind of want to either reinforce that or not reinforce it. If we should open it to comment, board and public comment, and again, not taking a personal position on that yet. This is all sort of general stuff that coastal access and shoreline access should be reinforced, which I of course think that that's, shuttles to the beach, stuff like that, biking. I think we're sort of reaching, to saying new development should be served by roads. I don't think that's really an issue. Billboards came up before. I think we had a billboard case. If we want to further that.
All right, let me just remind you that you've been on this now for 15 minutes.
Okay, let's wrap it up then.
And you have 2 rack motions, you said?
We have 2 rack motions. Non-motorized transportation. Sorry, I'm taking long, guys. I'm going as fast as I can. Urban design stuff. Driveway access, a lot of stuff with that. Speed bumps. What else?
I
we
will
got?
just point out to you, I don't know if you ever noticed or not, but this document was never certified by the Coastal Commission. And it was pretty much created in a bubble in the planning department. There was very, very little community participation in this document.
Yep. Well, hopefully this is useful. I mean, we kind of see what the document is made of. I'll distribute the stuff with the highlights. I apologize if I miss anything in there. I tried to go through as quick as I could and get that. I think that was pretty much it. So I made it through there in 5 minutes of overtime.
Maybe the thing to do is to just talk about in future meetings, just put an agenda item on that you're going to talk about this page or this paragraph, and put 1 or 2 of them on each agenda, and then work your way through it.
I like it. I just wanted to get the ball rolling, and I appreciate you guys being patient with me, and the other option is just not to do anything, and then we don't have any community input. These are our streets and street lighting and driveway accesses and parking issues and stuff like that. I think we should take a shot at it. I'd rather give it a shot than not. And if we're parking and transportation, we should get some t-shirts made up too, PTC t-shirts. Okay, rack. Jim, you want to lead rack? Can you lead the comments on the rack stuff?
Why don't you go ahead and share the rack motion? Somebody needs to make the motion, and then
I don't know if I have the link for it, but I'm going to find it. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing for a second.
Are they on your agenda?
Yeah, they are.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, hold on 1 second. Where was I then? So we're going to close that window. We're going to open this one. I don't know why it turned black. And then we're going to screen share. And we're going to go to that one.
Selena's really the one to be able to do that because she's actually on rack transportation.
Yes.
So let's see if we can get through them.
Well, I don't have I have the motion. I have the items, but I don't have the motion in front of me. I looked it over briefly, but
did you post the motion on the agenda?
I thought we posted the links to it on here. And let me look, because I think I might be on the wrong thing. I'm pretty sure I posted the links on here to this motion. Rack motion, there we go. There's number 1. Council file. So that's this one, right? Did I hit the right one? LA City Clerk. Damn it.
What's the name of it? Because I'm on RAC's website. What's the
There's
title?
the EV master plan, which there is a link to. It's
I just want to see what the due dates are.
it's the council file 21-0890, if that helps.
21-08. There's no 2108 anything.
21, it says here in the City Clerk Connect.
21-0 what?
Oh, hey, here it is.
What's the title of it?
How's that?
I don't know, I have to change screens.
Can you see my screen?
210890. But you said that it's a RAC motion.
The RAC motion is to support this.
Hold on. I think that may be an old motion. It's not a pending motion. I don't remember sending it to you, and I guess that's why I'm wondering. How did you publish it on your agenda? Can you bring up your agenda so we can see what you have?
It looks like RAC had a CIS issued in September.
Got to let it sit still. Yeah, so this is already a month behind. They already closed this one, I believe. I don't know, because I don't see anything about it on there. Bring that back up again, because that the council file number was different, I believe. Can you reshare that, Robert?
I'd love to say yes, Jim. I would love to say yes. Had it,
Well, I can go dig up here.
lost it. Mhm. Hey, now you're gonna see how inept I am at doing this stuff, so it's getting a little embarrassing. What's this?
Yeah, you know what? You need to just postpone these, because I don't find it on. I think that this was sent to you guys like 2 months ago. And I think that those have already, now let me just see, I can go to the RAC's website and see if this was a prior motion. Yeah, it's not impending, and the only other ones are adopted. Yeah, 2108 doesn't come up there either. I'm not sure what the story is with that. Oh, wait, here. Request to improve signage and enforcement of EV charging stations. No, that's something different. We already voted on that one. We supported that. Yeah, I don't see anything here, Robert, on either their current site or their past site. So I'm not sure where that came from.
That was sent to me. It was sent to me. These motions, RAC motions, were sent to me by leaks.
By a leaks.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I think the RAC motion was to support, and unfortunately, I closed out the window when I had that open.
so I don't know why a leaks would be sending you RAC motions.
Well, 'cause she sits on RAC and she thought they might be of interest to us. I think she
Yeah,
was.
but not on transportation. Anyway, look, these aren't on RAC's site today. So you ought to just finish off your agenda and skip these things.
Okay.
STAP. There's no link
So-
to the STAP one, and let me just see if that's on RAC's site. And just so you're aware of it, Robert, I should be the one sending you RAC things. Because if the RAC board doesn't, there's nothing on here for STAP either. If the RAC board does not approve a committee's motion, they don't get forwarded to the rest of the neighborhood councils. And because I'm on that board, I don't remember either of these two motions coming before us. And I've been to every RAC meeting since I became president. So I'm not sure.
I don't think any damage to the universe is going to be done if we don't
No,
take
I'm
action
just-
on these things.
I'm just, no, except we don't know what they are.
Well, one was the street, the street furniture program, and then the other one was the had something to do with the EV master plan coordinating with DWP. And I did read them.
Since no motion was made, we can move on. If you-
Yeah, let's move on and let's move on to number 13, which is does anybody have any items not on the agenda that they'd like to talk about? Nick, Allison? Seeing none, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn this meeting, or however we do that. Adjourn the meeting. Thanks, guys. Sorry I was a little unorganized there. You know, John's really better at this stuff than me, some of it. I mean, I'm good at following up with people, but he's really the one who's better with the wheels of steel stuff. And he unfortunately had a family emergency. So we wish him the best in his absence. And I would have had these links had I known. I didn't know until this afternoon.
Robert, before you adjourn the meeting, just
Mhm.
for the protocol, item 13, you do have one attendee with their hand up. And we have to assume that the attendee wanted to speak on that.
I'm sorry. I didn't. Attendee number 713. I apologize. I did not see your hand was up before. Now I am seeing it. Let's call on them. Do you mind doing that, Jim?
Yeah, no, go ahead. 713, go ahead and you have the floor. Go ahead and speak.
Hi, thank you. This is Ruth, your unhoused neighbor. I noticed that you guys were talking about including the business owners near the parking spaces that were going to possibly be removed. And I just wanted to address the hypocrisy of trying to do outreach to those property owners, but not the RV owners that you were strategizing to displace. I know there's 2,000 unhoused people in Venice. It's the second largest homeless population in LA. The largest homeless population in LA, Skid Row, is denied its own neighborhood council in 2017. So we're historically silenced by Empower LA, and there's no other unhoused people here representing those RV owners or inhabitants. And you guys really like talking about community outreach or involvement or whatever. Like, it's really hypocritical if you don't actually mean that for everyone. I had to use like a whole power bank just to talk to you guys tonight and make sure that somebody was at least present for us, the unhoused people of Los Angeles and Venice Beach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now you can adjourn.
Okay,
I don't see any other hands up.
then I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Thanks everybody for your patience.
Thank you, Robert.
Okay, see you next time. Bye.
Don't forget, Robert, oh, too late. Good night.